My first life ended the day I realized my marriage was not a partnership, but a performance. For 15 years, I had played the role of Sarah, the devoted wife to Marcus, the brilliant attorney. I was the architect of our serene home, the silent manager of our finances, the gracious hostess who ensured his world ran without a single ripple. I believed the life we curated, the Beacon Hill brownstone, the Nantucket summers, the mutual respect I thought was our foundation, was a shared creation. The betrayal wasn't a sudden shatter, but a slow, seeping crack in that foundation. It was in the late-night investor dinners that left no trace on the company credit cards, the growing emotional abyss between us, the casual lies that became as natural and necessary to him as breathing. The ultimate betrayal was the discovery that he was using the resources of our life, my life, to scaffold a new one with someone else, right under my roof and in the places I held sacred. My rival's name is Jake. He isn't just the other man. He is the man Marcus was trying to become, a man I didn't know and wouldn't have chosen. Jake is my antithesis. Loud where I am quiet, brazen where I am reserved, and consumed by a brand of unapologetic selfishness I could never comprehend. He didn't just want my husband. He wanted my life. He wore Marcus's ambition like a stolen coat, slept in our Nantucket house, drank our vintage wine, and spent our money. His final, most audacious act of colonization was to follow Marcus into the office of our marriage counselor, turning the one space I believed was for healing into his stage. My death was not a physical one. It was the complete and total annihilation of the woman I was. It happened quietly, in the vanilla-scented, soundproofed office of Dr. Chen, a woman I had paid and trusted to help mend us. The woman who believed in the covenant of marriage, in the power of forgiveness and second chances, died a silent, brutal death in a plush leather armchair. It was the moment my mind finally accepted what my gut had been screaming for months. The two people in that room I was supposed to trust implicitly, my husband and my therapist, were not my allies. They were the architects of my end. But in the ashes of that quiet, trusting woman, someone new was born, a woman who no longer believed in mending things, but in settling accounts. The manila envelope is a lead weight in my lap, its crisp edges a stark contrast to the frayed ruin of my nerves. It crinkles under my clammy fingers as Dr. Chen offers a serene smile that doesn't reach her eyes. "Are we ready to begin our final breakthrough session?" she asks, her voice the same soothing balm that once calmed me, but now sounds like a lie. I don't answer. My focus is drawn to the space under the sleek mahogany coffee table between us. I watch Marcus's hand find another. He squeezes, a gesture of reassurance meant only for Jake, who sits beside him, looking smugly at home on the beige love seat that has absorbed so many of my tears. Their wedding rings, identical platinum bands, catch the soft afternoon light filtering through the large Beacon Hill window. 2 matching rings. The thought is so absurd, so utterly brazen it almost makes me laugh. He'd told me his was a new design he'd picked up, a symbol of his renewed commitment. I see now it was just one half of a matched set. The scent of the vanilla candle on Dr. Chen's side table, the one that's supposed to promote tranquility, churns my stomach. For months I sat here, breathing in this cloying sweetness while detailing the slow, painful disintegration of my marriage, believing the breakthrough we were working towards was one of reconciliation. Now I know. The breakthrough they were all hoping for wasn't saving our marriage. It was ending it on their terms. My pulse hammers a frantic, trapped rhythm against my throat. I grip the edges of the envelope, the sharp corners of the legal-sized paper inside digging into my skin. It's a grounding sensation in this surreal nightmare. They really did it. They brought him here. to our sacred space, to the one place I was supposed to be able to be completely vulnerable. They've orchestrated this final act with such meticulous cruelty, a performance for an audience of one. They think they're bringing down the curtain, but they have no idea I've rewritten the ending. I glance at the ornate clock on the mantelpiece. 2:47 p.m. 3 minutes until the official start of this farce. I know Marcus's schedule better than he does. He has a business dinner tonight, a celebratory one with investors from New York. It starts at 6 p.m. That gives them exactly 3 hours and 13 minutes. 3 hours and 13 minutes to dismantle what's left of my life, to manage the fallout, and to walk away clean, leaving me to sweep up the debris of 15 years. They think they have all the time in the world. They think they have all the power. My movements are slow, deliberate. I lean forward, my spine straight, and I place the manila envelope on the polished surface of the table. It lands with a soft, definitive thud that cuts through the quiet room. It sits there, innocuous, and yet monumental. A declaration of war disguised as office supplies. I lift my gaze and lock it onto Marcus. I watch the carefully constructed mask of concerned husband begin to crack. The blood drains from his face, leaving behind a waxy, pale sheen. His eyes, the same blue eyes that once looked at me with what I mistook for love, are wide with a dawning horror. Jake's smug expression falters, replaced by a flicker of confusion. Even Dr. Chen's professional calm seems to waver, her serene smile tightening at the edges. They don't know what's inside the envelope, not yet. But they know it's not part of their script. Checkmate, Marcus. It comes in many forms, and sometimes it comes in a simple manila envelope. Before we talk about rebuilding trust, I say, my voice surprising me with its steadiness, like cut glass. I slide the envelope across the glossy mahogany. It glides silently, a paper shark in a calm sea, stopping just short of Dr. Chen's leather-bound notebook. I think we should discuss property division instead of trust exercises today. The silence that follows is thick and suffocating. Dr. Chen's mouth opens slightly, a fish gaping for air. Marcus recoils as if the envelope were venomous. "Sarah, what the hell is this?" he stammers, his voice a rough, unfamiliar rasp. He starts to reach for it, but Jake's hand, resting casually on Marcus's thigh, tightens, a silent, proprietary command. The gesture is so subtle, so practiced, it speaks of 1,000 similar moments of quiet control. I ignore them both and hold Dr. Chen's gaze. "I'm sure you'll want to have your legal counsel present for this, Marcus. And Jake, you might want to call yours as well. This concerns you too." I give Jake a small, cold smile. "After all, you've been a primary beneficiary of our marital assets." "I don't know what you're talking about," Jake says, his voice a low sneer, but a bead of sweat has appeared on his temple. "Don't you?" I ask, my voice laced with a sweetness that feels foreign and powerful on my tongue. "Let me clarify." I turn my attention back to my husband. "Marcus, I know you've been booking private sessions with Dr. Chen. Or rather, what you've been telling me are private sessions." My eyes flick to the therapist, who has gone rigid in her chair. "Since you've already moved on to couples therapy with your new partner, it only seems fair that we move on to the next logical step in our own relationship." The implication hangs in the air, heavy and poisonous. Marcus's face cycles through a series of emotions: shock, rage, and finally, a pathetic, cornered fear. "Sarah, this is insane. You're being hysterical." Am I? I lean back in my chair, feigning a casualness I don't feel. Inside, my heart is a wild drum, but on the outside, I am the calm eye of the hurricane I am about to unleash. It's funny. I thought I was being remarkably clear-headed. It takes a lot of clarity to sort through 3 years of joint bank account statements, but I had the time. Dr. Chen's professional mask, the one she has worn for every single one of our 57 sessions, finally shatters. Her composure crumbles, and for the first time I see her not as a calm, authoritative guide, but as a frightened woman who has made a catastrophic mistake. She knows what I'm talking about. She knows I know. Now, Dr. Chen, I continue, my tone turning sharp, prosecutorial. Would you call it standard practice to bill a patient for individual marriage counseling sessions paid for from a joint account, while simultaneously conducting couples therapy with that patient's husband and his affair partner? The walls of her expensive Beacon Hill office, once a sanctuary, suddenly feel like they're closing in. The curated art on the walls seems to mock her. The vanilla candle sputters, its flame dwindling. That's a ridiculous accusation, Marcus snarls, finding a sliver of his lawyerly bravado. You have no proof. Oh, Marcus, I sigh, a theatrical sound of disappointment. You taught me so much about the law. The most important lesson? The value of a paper trail. I reach into my purse and pull out a second, thinner document. It's a sheaf of papers held together with a binder clip. I toss it onto the table next to the divorce papers. It's a copy of our bank statement from the last 6 months. Every payment to Chen Counseling Associates is highlighted in a sickening, fluorescent yellow. And next to each charge, I've made a neat, handwritten note. You see, I explained to the room at large, I was confused at first. You told me, Marcus, that our insurance had stopped covering our sessions, that we had to pay out of pocket. It seemed plausible, so I paid the invoices Dr. Chen sent me from our joint account. But then I noticed a second set of charges, smaller ones, twice a week. When I called the insurance company, they told me a very different story. They told me they were still covering you, Marcus, for family therapy. Funny, isn't it? I wasn't aware our family had expanded. I let that sink in. I watched Jake's face pale, the smugness evaporating completely, replaced by the raw panic of someone who has just realized their free ride is over. I watch Marcus stare at the highlighted statements, the evidence of his cheap, pathetic fraud laid bare. And I watch Dr. Chen, who looks like she's about to be physically ill. So, I say, leaning forward again, my voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. Let's not waste any more of our valuable time on feelings. Let's talk numbers. Let's talk about the fraudulent billing. Let's talk about the house in Nantucket. Let's talk about everything. I've got all the receipts. The scene shifts. The battlefield has moved from the serene therapy room to the cold, sterile confines of Dr. Chen's private bathroom. The air here smells of antiseptic and expensive hand soap. She's leaning over the pristine porcelain sink, splashing cold water on her face, but it does nothing to restore the color to her cheeks. Her reflection in the large, gilt-edged mirror is that of a ghost. On the wall behind her, framed in dark wood, is her therapy license. It hangs there, a testament to her career, her reputation, a life's work, now dangling by the thinnest of threads. I stand in the doorway, blocking the only exit, my arms crossed over my chest. I just followed her in here after she'd muttered something about needing a moment. I wasn't about to give her one. It's amazing how quickly things can fall apart, isn't it, Dr. Chen? I say to her reflection. All that trust you preach about, it's so fragile. She flinches, grabbing a linen hand towel and pressing it to her face, refusing to meet my eyes in the mirror. Just then, Marcus storms in behind me, his 6'3" frame filling the small space, radiating an impotent fury. He tries to use his courtroom voice, The one that's supposed to intimidate junior associates and terrify witnesses. But it cracks around the edges, frayed with panic. You can't prove anything, Sarah. This is harassment. You're having some kind of breakdown and you're trying to ruin everyone's lives. I turn slowly to face him, a humorless laugh escaping my lips. Ruin your lives? Marcus, you're the one who has been methodically dismantling mine for years. You just thought I was too stupid or too weak to notice. I take a step toward him, forcing him to take a half step back. You want to talk about proof? I tick off the points on my fingers, my voice low and venomous. Can't prove you've been embezzling marital funds to pay for affair counseling with my marriage counselor? The bank statements, with your signature on the checks for the out-of-pocket payments I made, seem to think I can. Can't prove that Jake has been living, rent-free, in our Nantucket house since March, using my car and my goddamn Peloton membership? I pause, letting the petty, specific detail land. The security camera footage from the front gate, the grocery delivery receipts, the charges on the Amex I foolishly left tied to the house account. They all paint a very clear picture. It's a picture of a parasite. Jake appears in the doorway behind Marcus, his face a mask of contempt. He'd clearly followed Marcus, unwilling to let him face me alone. My gaze shifts back to Dr. Chen, who is now leaning against the wall, as if her legs can no longer support her. And you, Doctor, can't prove you've been billing Marcus's insurance company for fraudulent sessions with his boyfriend. Billing for family therapy, CPT code 90847. A service that requires the primary policyholder and at least one family member to be present. I wonder how the state licensing board and his insurance provider's fraud investigation unit will feel about that. I took the liberty of looking up the penalties. They're quite severe. Sarah, please, Dr. Chen whispers, her voice a pathetic plea. It's the first time she has spoken since I dropped the bomb. Her professional authority is gone, replaced by the raw fear of a woman watching her entire world crumble. But before she can continue, Jake cuts her off with a sneer, stepping forward to stand beside Marcus, a united front of deceit. She's bluffing, he spits, his arrogance returning, a reflex against the fear. Look at her. She's the quiet little wife. Sarah doesn't have the spine for this. She'll make a lot of noise and then she'll fold. She always does. His words are meant to wound, to remind me of the woman I used to be. The woman who avoided conflict, who would rather swallow her own pain than cause a scene. For a moment his words find their mark, a painful echo of my past self. But then I feel the cold, solid marble of the countertop against my back. It grounds me. I lean against it, a small, knowing smile playing on my lips. I look at the three of them, the cheating husband, the home-wrecking parasite, and the corrupt therapist. Three people who built their entire plan on a single, flawed premise. They all believed they were dealing with the old Sarah. They have no idea who I am now. You're right, Jake, I say softly, my voice deceptively calm. The old Sarah probably would have folded. The woman who handled the catering for Marcus's work events and picked out the seasonal throw pillows for the living room, she would have cried. She would have pleaded. She would have eventually given in. I push myself off the counter, standing tall. But you see, there's one small detail you all overlooked in your brilliant little scheme. I look from one panicked face to the next. The quiet wife who picks out throw pillows is also the quiet wife who has prepared and filed your taxes for the last 15 years. The quiet wife who manages the investment portfolios. The quiet wife who notices every single discrepancy in every single account. My smile widens. You all underestimated the quiet wife who handles all the finances, and that is going to be a very, very expensive mistake. Just as Marcus opens his mouth to retort, A sharp buzz cuts through the tense air of the bathroom. All eyes snap to Jake. He fumbles for his phone in the pocket of his ridiculously tight designer jeans. He glances at the screen, a flicker of annoyance crossing his face, assuming it's an irrelevant notification. And then he freezes. I see the screen from across the small room. It's an Instagram notification, a direct message. I know the profile picture. It's a discreet, black circle. It's the account I created 2 months ago, the one I used to follow his private account, the one he thought was only for his curated circle of sycophants. "Something interesting, Jake?" I ask, my voice dripping with false concern. He looks up at me, his eyes wide with a new kind of fear, a public fear. "You know," I continue, taking a slow step toward the door, reclaiming the space. "It's amazing what people will post online when they think no one important is watching. All those lovely photos from Nantucket. You and Marcus on the deck of my house, drinking my champagne. The two of you in Boston, at that little Italian place in the North End I introduced him to. And my personal favorite," I pause for effect, "the artistic shot of the two of you in our bed, tangled in the sheets I bought from Fret. You were very clever with the caption, 'Sunday mornings.' But you weren't clever enough. You see, you tagged the location. Not the address, of course. Just Beacon Hill, Boston. Close enough?" I have his full attention now. Marcus looks like he's been struck by lightning. Jake is staring at his phone as if it's a bomb. "I've been taking screenshots for months," I say, my voice conversational, as if we're discussing the weather. "It's a fascinating collection. A digital scrapbook of my husband's affair. I was thinking of putting it all together in a little slideshow. Maybe set it to music. What do you think? Something ironic. Maybe Stand By Your Man?" "You wouldn't," Jake whispers, his voice hoarse. The sneer is gone, replaced by a desperate, pleading look. His entire curated existence, his social standing, is built on a foundation of lies and other people's money. I am threatening to bulldoze it all. "Oh, I think you'll find I would," I reply cheerfully. "But a slideshow feels a little small scale, don't you think? I was aiming for something with a bit more reach." I turn to Marcus, whose face is a pallid mask of sheer terror. His career, his reputation as a pillar of the Boston legal community, is built on a carefully crafted image of stability and integrity. An image I helped him build. An image I am about to shatter into 1,000,000 pieces. "By the way," I say, my hand now on the doorknob, "you might want to cancel that 6 p.m. dinner with your investors, or at least be prepared for some awkward questions. Channel 5 will be running a story tonight. It's an investigative piece on insurance fraud in the mental health industry. Apparently, they found a source, a whistleblower, who had a very compelling story about her experiences with a prominent Boston therapist." I smile brightly at Dr. Chen, who looks as if she's about to faint. "I gave them quite an interview, and all my documentation, the bank statements, the insurance records, and yes, even a few choice screenshots from Jake's little private Instagram account. A human interest angle, you know? It really helps to sell the story." The full weight of what I've done finally lands on them. This isn't just about divorce anymore. This isn't about a messy breakup. This is about public disgrace. This is about professional ruin. This is about potential criminal charges. Marcus lunges forward, a guttural roar of fury and desperation tearing from his throat. "Sarah!" But I'm already moving. I slip out of the bathroom and into the hallway, leaving the three of them in the cold, sterile room with the ruins of their lives. My heels click against the polished hardwood floor with a steady, military precision. The sound echoes in the quiet office. It's the sound of a battle won. It's the sound of me walking away, not as a victim, but as a victor. I don't look back. I don't need to. I can feel the shock waves of their implosion behind me. The quiet wife is quiet no more. The air in the concrete parking garage is cool, and smells of gasoline and damp earth. The harsh fluorescent lights hum overhead, casting long, distorted shadows. Riley is leaning against the driver's side door of my Audi, her arms crossed, a look of fierce loyalty etched on her face. She's been my best friend since college, the one person who saw the cracks in my marriage long before I was willing to admit they were there. When I finally broke down and told her everything 2 months ago, she didn't say, "I told you so." She just said, "Okay, what's the plan? How do we burn it all down?" I see the worry in her eyes as I approach. "Are you okay?" she asks, her voice low. "Better than okay," I say, a real smile, the first one in years, touching my lips. I hold up a second manila envelope, the thicker of the two. Phase 2. I hand it to her. Inside this one is the real ammunition, the kind of deeply personal betrayal that a news story can't fully capture. It's copies of every document Marcus had asked me to sign for our new investment strategy over the last year, a strategy I now know was designed to siphon marital assets into accounts only he could control. And next to his signature on each document is a forgery of my own. Sloppy, careless forgeries that a first-year forensic analyst could spot. He'd gotten arrogant. But the real prize, the crown jewel of his deception, is tucked in the back. It's copies of the journaling exercises he was supposed to be doing for Dr. Chen. He'd told me she encouraged him to write down his feelings about our marriage, to work through his confusion. He'd even let me read some of them, filled with saccharine prose about his love for me and his hope for our future. They were performances, just like everything else. Dr. Chen had sent the invoices for these exercises to me, and I'd paid them without a second thought. But this envelope contains the other journal, the real one. The one detailing his plans for a future with Jake, written in his own neat, precise handwriting. I found it in his briefcase last week, tucked inside a legal pad for a case he'd already won. "He's coming," Riley says, her eyes darting toward the elevator bank. The doors slide open and Marcus stumbles out, his face wild with desperation. Jake and Dr. Chen are nowhere in sight. They've been left behind to deal with the initial blast zone. This is just about him and me now. "Sarah!" he shouts, his voice echoing in the cavernous space. He hurries toward me, his expensive shoes scuffing on the gritty concrete. "Sarah, stop. Please, we can fix this. We can work this out. Don't destroy everything we built." He reaches for me, his hand closing around my wrist. His grip is tight, possessive. It's the same way he holds a pen, a briefcase, a glass of scotch, like he owns it. I don't flinch. I look down at his hand on my arm, then back up to his face. "There is nowhere, Marcus," I say, my voice devoid of any emotion. "And you're mistaken about who did the building." With a sharp twist, I wrench my arm from his grasp. "I built that life. I decorated that house. I nurtured those friendships and business connections you so carelessly trade on. I managed the money that you stole." I take a step back, putting myself next to Riley. "All while you two were planning your future in my therapist's office on my dime." As if on cue, Jake emerges from the stairwell door, his face a thunderous mask of rage. He's clearly decided that pleading is over. "The house, the business, the investments, they're all in your name because he trusted you," he spits, finally showing the vicious, grasping person he truly is. He's not angry for Marcus. He's angry for himself. He sees his meal ticket, his entire future going up in smoke. "You can't just take it all?" I almost have to laugh. The sheer audacity, the entitlement, it's breathtaking. The fluorescent lights buzz, a frantic electric sound that matches the energy crackling between us. I look at Jake, then at Marcus, two halves of the same selfish whole. It's time for the final blow. It's time for the checkmate. "We're in my name," I say, enunciating each word with chilling precision. Past tense. Marcus stares at me, uncomprehending. What are you talking about? I'm talking about my morning, I say. While you and Jake were driving back from a romantic weekend at the Cape House, planning your new life together, I was busy. I had a 9 a.m. appointment at the bank. Our bank. I spent 3 hours with our private wealth manager, a very nice man named David who was so helpful. I turned to Jake. You think the assets are in my name because Marcus trusted me? No, darling. The assets are in my name because my father made that a non-negotiable condition of the prenuptial agreement Marcus was so eager to sign when he married into my family's money. A flicker of memory, of understanding, dawns in Marcus's eyes. He knows what I'm saying is true. I liquidated everything this morning, I state, the words hanging in the cold air like ice crystals. Every stock, every bond, every mutual fund. I emptied the joint accounts, the investment accounts, even the trust account set up for your retirement. I transferred every last cent to a new account at a new bank, an account that only has one name on it, mine. I watch the color drain from Marcus's face, the full catastrophic reality of his situation finally hitting him. He's not just facing public humiliation and professional ruin. He's facing financial annihilation. He is, for the first time in his adult life, broke. And just so we're clear, I add, delivering the coup de grace as Riley discreetly films the entire exchange on her phone. The house in Nantucket? It's already on the market. The Beacon Hill brownstone will be listed on Monday. You have 30 days to vacate. I give him a final, dismissive look. You didn't just lose a wife, Marcus. You lost a fortune. I hope he was worth it. We are back where it all began, in Dr. Chen's office, but the atmosphere has curdled from therapeutic calm to a state of open warfare. The room is crowded, thick with the smell of fear and expensive cologne. My lawyer, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Helen, sits beside me, her briefcase open on her lap. Across from us, Marcus and Jake are huddled with their own lawyer, a flustered man who looks like he was pulled away from a golf game and is deeply regretting it. And in the corner, looking stern and impassive, is a woman from the State Licensing Board for Mental Health Practitioners, her pen scratching methodically across a notepad. Dr. Chen sits in her usual chair, but she seems to have shrunk, a prisoner in her own professionally curated space. The air crackles with unspoken accusations and the rustle of papers. Their lawyer is trying to spin a narrative of a scorned wife's vengeful fantasy, but the evidence I've provided is too meticulous, too damning. The highlighted bank statements, the insurance forms, the deed to the Nantucket house, it's all laid out on the mahogany table like a funeral shroud. Marcus, ever the performer, decides to try one last, desperate manipulation. He stands up, his voice resonating with a practiced sincerity that once would have fooled me. This is a tragedy, he begins, addressing the room, but looking at the woman from the licensing board. My wife, Sarah, is having a severe mental breakdown. This is exactly why we needed counseling in the first place. She's become paranoid, unstable. She's destroying our family out of spite. The words hang in the air. Our family. The sheer, unmitigated gall of it is what finally makes me rise to my feet. All the pain, the betrayal, the quiet, lonely nights. It coalesces into a single point of cold, hard fury. Our family? My voice cuts through the room, clear and strong, silencing all other sound. You want to talk about family, Marcus? I take a step forward, into the center of the room, so everyone is forced to look at me. Do you mean the family you destroyed when you started sleeping with him? I point a trembling finger at Jake, who flinches as if struck. Or did you mean the family you destroyed when you brought your boyfriend to our marriage counselor, turning my therapy into your alibi? She's twisting everything, Jake protests, his voice high and strained. We were all just trying to navigate a difficult situation." "A difficult situation?" I echo, my laugh sharp and humorless. "You call systematic fraud a difficult situation? You call living in my house, eating my food, and spending my money while sleeping with my husband a difficult situation?" The room is silent, waiting. All eyes turn to Dr. Chen. She knows this is her moment. She can continue to lie and go down with them, or she can try to salvage what little is left of her career and her conscience. She takes a deep, shuddering breath, her eyes finally meeting mine. There is no sympathy in them, only the cold calculation of self-preservation. "I have records," she says, her voice barely a whisper, but it carries in the dead quiet. "I have records of every session." She turns to the woman from the licensing board. "Marcus requested couples therapy for himself and Mr. Peterson in February. He insisted on confidentiality. He maintained the pretense of separate, individual marriage counseling with Sarah." It's a confirmation. A quiet, clinical confession. Marcus stares at her, his face a mask of disbelief. He has been betrayed by his co-conspirator. His own therapist has just handed the prosecution its case. "So you billed his insurance for sessions with his affair partner," I continue, pressing my advantage, my voice growing stronger with every word. "While I paid you, out of pocket, from our joint account, for marriage counseling sessions that were a complete and utter sham. You took money from the wife to treat the husband and his boyfriend." Their lawyer starts to object, to call for a recess, but I'm not finished. This is my closing argument. This is for every woman who has ever been gaslit, lied to, and made to feel like she was crazy. Marcus says I'm unstable. He says I'm paranoid. I reach into my purse, the same purse that has been sitting on the chair beside me for every single one of our sessions for the past 3 months. He's right about one thing. I am paranoid. And do you know what a paranoid, tech-savvy woman with a cheating husband and a corrupt therapist does in the 21st century? I pull out my smartphone. I hold it up for everyone to see. She hits record. I tap the screen, and from the small speaker, a voice fills the room. It's Dr. Chen's voice from our session 2 weeks ago. "Marcus, you need to be patient with her. We need to manage her expectations as we transition to the next phase." Then, Marcus's voice, clear as a bell. I know. But how much longer do I have to keep up this charade? Jake is getting impatient. He wants to start living our life, not hiding in the shadows of this one." Then, Jake's voice, petulant and whining, from a session last month that I paid for. "I just don't see why she gets the house in Nantucket. It's our happy place. We made it our own." I let the recording play for another 30 seconds, a collage of their deceit, their planning, their utter contempt for me, all documented in crystal-clear audio. Then I press stop. The silence that follows is absolute. It is the silence of utter and complete devastation. The licensing board representative is staring at me, her pen frozen above her notepad. My lawyer, Helen, has a slow, triumphant smile spreading across her face. And Marcus, Jake, and Dr. Chen, they look like they've seen a ghost. In a way, they have. They're looking at the ghost of the woman they thought they could destroy, risen from the grave to bury them. I look at the three of them, their faces a tableau of ruin in the soft afternoon light. Marcus, the master litigator, struck dumb. Jake, the arrogant freeloader, finally speechless. And Dr. Chen, the trusted professional, exposed as a common fraud. I pick up my purse and my phone, my movements calm and unhurried. As I walk toward the door, I pause and look back at them one last time. "Congratulations on your breakthrough, gentlemen," I say, my voice cool and even. "You've just broken through to criminal fraud charges." 6 months later, the view from my new condo is breathtaking. It overlooks the Boston Harbor, and the floor-to-ceiling windows catch the morning sun, filling the minimalist space with a light that feels clean and new. The air smells of sea salt and possibility, not stale lies and vanilla-scented deceit. I sign the last of the closing papers, the ink from my pen a bold, definitive stroke. The settlement check from Marcus, a sum that can only be described as astronomical, has paid for this fresh start, and then some. Riley is here, of course. She pops the cork on a bottle of champagne, the sound echoing joyfully in the spacious, empty living room. We haven't bought much furniture yet. I wanted to live in the space for a while, to feel it, to make sure every single thing I bring into this new life is something I have chosen, something that brings me peace. To Sarah, Riley says, handing me a glass. Her eyes are shining. The woman who learned that sometimes the best therapy is the kind you give yourself, with a good lawyer and a well-hidden recording device. We clink glasses, the crystal ringing with the sound of victory. Marcus, I'd heard through the legal grapevine, was officially disbarred last week. The Channel 5 story had been the beginning of the end for him. The audio recording was the nail in his professional coffin. He and Jake are both facing a slew of charges for insurance and wire fraud. Dr. Chen surrendered her license and is cooperating with the authorities in exchange for a lighter sentence. Their perfect world, built on my money and my trust, has been reduced to rubble. My phone rings, pulling me from my thoughts. I don't recognize the number, but I answer it anyway. "Is this Sarah Pierce?" a woman's voice asks. It's brisk, professional. "It is," I say. "My name is Anya Sharma. I'm a producer with Fulcrum Documentaries. I was given your number by your lawyer, Helen Croft. I've been following your husband's case. Well, your ex-husband's case. It's an incredible story. We're doing a series on financial abuse and the ways women are fighting back. We think your story could be very powerful, very inspiring." I look out at the harbor, at the boats sailing freely on the water. For so long I was anchored to a life that was slowly sinking. Now, I'm the captain of my own ship. "I'm interested," I say, a slow smile spreading across my face. "Let's talk." I hang up the phone and take a sip of my champagne. It tastes like freedom. I think about Marcus and Jake, their lives now a tangled mess of court dates and legal fees, their reputations in tatters. They took everything from me, and in doing so they gave me everything back. They taught me how strong I was, what I was capable of. They set me free. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just living well. It's making sure your story gets told while they're living behind bars.